Yo, what's up guys, hope you guys are doing good. So today we are gonna see what if Naruto was trained by Kushina and Mito, part 1. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. And I do not own this fanfic, also make sure to check out the author of this fanfic, Shiroi Fenikkusu, and support him for writing this awesome fanfic, link is in the description. So let's get into the video. The granddaughter of the late Madara Uchiha, Kushina Uchiha Uzumaki, though she never told anyone she was his great-granddaughter except Mito Uzumaki, had just given birth to her beautiful baby boy. The little tan boy, with a tuft of red hair, blue eyes, and 3 identical whisker marks on each cheek, she and Minato had named Naruto, meaning Maelstrom, also the main character of Minato's sensei, Jiraiya's book, The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi. Whilst Kushina was recovering, Bawako and Taji were silently cradling her baby boy, and Minato was just finishing up getting her seal, holding the Kikbi, stable. Suddenly there was a noise, and a thump that sounded eerily similar to that of a dead body hitting the ground. She and Minato both whipped their heads around in search for what was wrong when they both spotted it. The Sandame's wife, Bawako Sarutobi, as well as Taji lying there unmoving, a shadowy cloaked figure that donned a white mask with a black flame-like pattern on the left side, and a single eye hole loomed over the top over the now deceased bodies, with their baby boy in his grasp. He spoke in a calm, even tone. "Yondame Hokage Minato, step away from them, or your child will die at the ripe old age of 1 minute." As Minato was trying to figure out who this masked man was, he was unaware that the seal holding the Kikbi was slowly breaking until Kushina cried out in pain. "Kushina!" shouted Minato with worry and alarm. "The seal's not done." He thought it was gloomy. The masked man repeated again in his calm tone. "Step away from them, or do you not care if your child dies?" "Hold it, just calm down." Minato tried to reason. "You should take your own advice, Minato. I am perfectly calm." The stranger spoke, mockingly. He proceeded to toss the child into the air. "Naruto!" Kushina yelled with terror and worry as she saw her baby in the air and the mysterious man aiming a kunai at him. There was a yellow flash as Minato teleported to his child, safely moving them from harm's way. "I see, you live up to your moniker, the yellow flash," the masked man stated. "But now what?" he questioned. It was only then that Minato realized that the baby's blankets had several explosive tags covering them. Thinking fast, Minato safely removed the blanket and to safety, whilst the tags exploded, covering the now open area in smoke and debris. "Minato! Naruto!" Kushina cried with worry. Meanwhile, Minato had himself and his child to their house. He tucked him in whilst thinking of what the masked man could be planning. He tried to separate Kushina and me and is here when the Jinchuriki seal is at its weakest. Could he be after Kikbi? He came to his realization and yelled in frantic panic. "Shit. If he is, I'll have to go try to save your mother. I can't let Kikbi fall into anyone else's hands." Masked man and Kushina. After a while of staring at Kushina, he entered the seal, where he proceeded to use his Sharingan to control the Kikbi. On the outside he spoke 3 terrifying words. "Come forth, Kikbi." Then it all happened, an enormous roar and a vile red chakra, the Kikbi appeared in all its glory. "We headed for the village now," he commanded it. "Stop." He heard Kushina weakly yell. He was quite surprised, she was still alive even after the extraction of the fox. He voiced his thoughts. "You Uzumaki truly are something special, even ripping a from you won't kill you, it's only fitting for the Kikbi to kill its former." Kikbi reared its paw back and struck. The smoke settled only to reveal Minato holding Kushina away from the attack. Kushina looked around urgently and then asked with worry. "Where's Naruto?" "Relax, I have hidden him somewhere safe," Minato replied soothingly. Kushina settled down at this. "Thank God." Minato stops him, he has the Kikbi and is heading for the village. Minato stopped in his tracks. Useless bitch couldn't even hold the Kikbi back. He raged internally. He sighed. "Oh well, she's on death's door anyway, I'll just follow the plan of making myself and Naruto the Jinchurikis for the village." Though masked man interference was unsuspected, it is better for plan. He thought with glee at the prospect of the village having 2 weapons. He then vanished with Kushina. House Naruto and Kiyomi. Minato and Kushina appeared in a yellow flash. Minato placed Kushina into the bed with Naruto. "Thus stay with Naruto," Minato replied sternly. Naruto Kushina started to weep. "Minato, thank you and good luck," she said softly. Minato faced away from her and put his cloak on. "I'll be back before you know it," he proclaimed cheerfully, on the inside though he was seething. "Stupid whore, I can't let him reach the village or villagers. They are the most important thing, as well as keeping the weapon. But in the end Konoha will possess 2 weapons." Kukuku. Hiruzen was sitting in an office doing paperwork covering for Minato when he felt something vile. It couldn't be, could it? He thought to himself. Suddenly an Anbu appeared in front of him. "Sandame-sama, it's the Kikbi." The Kikbi attacked the village out of nowhere. The Anbu shouted frantically. "It's, as I feared." Did Kushina start fighting back? Or somehow Minato's plan is failing? Hiruzen thought. I know I'll hold it back, you go gather and protect the civilians. Hiruzen ordered. Hi sir. With that said the Anbu left. The Sandaime had a bunch of questions running through his mind. Did Minato's plan fail? Were all the safeguards we put up really not enough? Ikki spotted Minato after he teleported to the Hokage monument. It immediately started to charge up and fired it at him. Minato however countered this by going through a string of hand seals at a very impressive pace. The Dama seemingly absorbed into the monument whilst Minato held out and threw one of his kunai outside the village. The Dama then exploded, safely outside of the village. The masked man appeared and engaged Minato in a short fight. Just as the masked man was starting to warp him, Minato teleported away. As Minato appeared back where he saved his child from the exploding tags, his thoughts were analyzing the masked intruder. My attack just slipped right through him, then he became solid and started sucking me into some kind of dimension or something. What the hell was that move? The air distorted in front of him in a black vortex. The unknown masked shinobi started to appear in front of him. You won't get away from me. The masked man told him having just fully appeared, whilst Minato was in deep thought about what was going on. Does he use space-time techniques too? Whatever it is must be how he moved so far after taking Kushina. He defeated them under the direct command of the Sandaime, got through our most powerful, top-secret barrier we have, and must have been aware that Kushina's seal would be weakened during childbirth. Then with the seal broken, he took the Kikbi then he stormed straight into Konoha and didn't even pause to deal with the barrier. There's only one man I can think of that makes sense. Are you Uchiha Madara? Just after Minato questioned him, the masked man slipped off his hood showing short spiky black hair, but Minato came to a conclusion. No you couldn't be, he's long dead. Oh, I wouldn't be too sure about that. Stated the masked man. Minato looked at him questioningly. It doesn't matter who you are, but why have you attacked Konoha? Oh you know it's fun, it's part of my plan, to start a war to bring peace. The mystery man answered seriously. Minato looked at him with narrowed eyes, thinking about his opponent. Whoever he is he's incredible, he can control the Kikbi, wield space-time ninjutsu superior to the Nidaimes and my own, and clearly has evil intentions. If I don't kill him now he will become a greater threat than the fox. There's no hope for any of you. The masked man knocked Minato out of his thoughts. The masked man charged him with a chain cuffed to his wrists. Minato met his charge as he went to stab him with his kunai. The masked man however simply phased through him. The chain proceeded to wrap around Minato, binding him tightly. Minato teleported to his kunai again and dashed at him with one still tightly in his grasp. They charged each other again. Minato threw his kunai, it phased through the masked man's head. When it was completely out of his head, Minato created a Rasengan, still charging forward. Just as the masked man grasped his arm Gotch Minato vanished, reappearing above him. Rasengan! Shouted Minato as he smashed the technique into the masked man's back. The masked man seethed. Damn it, he teleported to the kunai he just threw. That was level 2. Minato declared proudly. Minato teleported to stab him in the back and placed a seal on him. The contract seal, are you trying to pull the Kikbi out of my control? His masked opponent queered. Oh, I already did, it's no longer your weapon. Minato stated. It's mine and Konoha's. Kukuku. He thought with glee. You earned your title Yondaime Hokage the Yellow Flash, you wrestled control of the fox and injured me in one move, but the fox will be mine. One day, the fox and the world will bow to my will, there are still many doors open to me. With those last few parting words he vanished in a black vortex. Something tells me he wasn't lying, Minato thought warily. Kikbi, hold it off until Yondaime-sama arrives. Yelled one of the many shinobi to his fellow comrades. Said person looks on in complete utter terror when he sees that the Kikbi is charging up its own attack, the Bijuadama. This is awful. Is the thought running through Minato's head as he sees Kikbi charging up. The loud cry of Kuchius no rang out and all of a sudden the Toad boss, Gamabunta appeared in all his glory, the Yondaime atop his head. He looked around and noticed the battle that was going on and the fact that he had been summoned on top of the greatest known Bijk, the Kikbi. The Yondaime has arrived. Exclaimed one of the shinobi. Minato thinks back to what the masked man stated. The fox and this world will bow to my will. He bows his head. I need to seal the Kikbi and Naruto and myself according to plan and inform Sensei and Sandaime-sama about this masked man. Hold the fox down for a minute. Minato yells to Gamabunta urgently. Look, I may be big, but I'm not a miracle worker. Gamabunta exclaimed. I need enough time to gather required chakra to take it and the blast out of here. Minato yells again. Suddenly, he and the fox vanish. Minato. Did he teleport the fox and himself? Hiruzen questioned. Out there. Shouts Hiruzen to the ninja present, seeing the giant explosion in the distance. Minato and Kikbi. Minato gently puts Kushina down. Huff, I've got to put up a barrier, Minato says to Kushina. My chakra is almost drained, Kushina thought in urgency. Chakra chains shoot out of her back and she wraps the fox in them. Baby Naruto cries in Minato's arms. Kushina. An alarmed Minato yells. Kushina trembles in exhaustion. Ha, ha, sorry Naruto, I didn't mean to wake you. Minato looks on with concern. Kushina. I'll drag the Kikbi back and die with it inside me, that'll prevent it from coming back for a while huff. It's the only way to save the two of you with the little chakra I have left. Kushina panted out, already on death's door. She smiled sadly. Thank you for everything. No, I can't let her do that, we need the weapon. Minato thought in alarm. Minato thought quickly. Kushina, you made me your husband, made me the Hokage, and made me a father, and Minato started to say, however, was interrupted by a sadly smiling Kushina. Don't look sad Minato. I'm happy. Happy that you loved me, happy that it's Arasachi's birthday. If I had any regrets it's that I won't see Naruto grow up. At these words Minato got even more alarmed. Damn it, I can't let her take the weapon. He screamed mentally, but composed himself. Kushina drifted off. You don't need to take the fox down with you, we can use the last of our chakra to see Naruto one more time. He tried to reason. Kushina said with a questioning look. Just a little more convincing Minato thought mentally, he took a deep breath and started doing some hand seals, which Kushina overlooked. I'll split the last of your chakra and seal it into Naruto with the Haki no Fuin Shiki, then seal the Kikbi away with a seal a non-Jinchuriki like me can use, the Shiki Fujin. He exclaimed, as he finished the seals, the Shinigami appeared. Kushina's eyes flew open wide. But that user will be she exclaimed. Minato continued on interrupting her. But, I'll use it to be able to split the fox's power. It's just too great, it's physically and conceptually impossible to completely seal it all. I can't let the Kikbi be revived without a Jinchuriki, it would destroy the balance of the. But with a dead demon seal I can permanently split its power in half and seal half inside myself, and the remaining half will be sealed inside of Naruto with the Haki no Fuin Shiki. Minato finished explaining his excellent plan. No. Minato. Absolutely not. He is our child, that's why I don't want him to have this burden, my burden, and on his own. Kushina yelled vehemently. Minato looked shocked. But why the Shiki Fujin? You don't have to die as well, just so I can meet them for a few minutes when he's older. I wanted you to be there for him to raise them. So then why are you sacrificing Naruto? Kushina snarled, and for what? The balance of the Biju? She hollered at him. Minato looked shocked, which then turned to an appalled look. Turning your back on the country, the village, is just as bad as abandoning your child. You should understand, you saw your village fall apart. You know the pain of growing up without a home of your own. And you know that is a shinobi family of shinobi. Minato exclaimed. Kushina looked pissed. Don't bring my village into this Minato. They only fought so that the children could get away from the attack. If there's one thing Uzumaki taught us, it is that family is the most important thing. Village be damned, it's just a bunch of buildings. Buildings can be rebuilt, but people's lives cannot be returned. You think this will be Naruto's home, if he is. They will hate them, and Mito-sama didn't because no one knew. This is different, people have been killed, the village attacked. The villagers will hate him. Kushina yelled in fury. Minato continued on. I could never be a substitute for a mother, things that Naruto need to be taught that I could never do myself. That's the mother's job, and I need you to carry it out. Even if you only have the briefest of moments to carry it out. It's not for you, it's for Naruto. Smiled Minato. Come on bitch, get trapped in my words like you always have been. So I can complete the plan. Don't change the subject. It's not for Naruto. He'll be on his own. And hated it. How could you do this? Is the village more important to you than your own child? Kushina shouted angrily. Be honest now Minato. She said quietly. Very well, Kushina. Minato snapped. He continued. The village is the most important thing. We need a weapon to protect it. He stated. Kushina's shocked look changes to rage and then pure undulated hatred. Her Sharingan activates and starts spinning wildly. I see, then I hate you. Minato Namikaze. You're not my husband. You're not Naruto's father. And you won't ever be now. As far as I'm concerned you're just a sperm donor. Kushina yelled in pure hatred and fury. Minato is shocked, but then he chuckles. I never loved you anyway. I used you for breeding a weapon and learning the secret of your clan's even better for my plan, since you're an Uchiha as well. Kushina after hearing this gains even more hatred on her face, the spinning Sharingan starts to morph, turning into a four-bladed shuriken, her Manjikam Sharingan flared. If looks could kill, Kushina gave a hollow chuckle. I used you first, bastard. I wanted my child to be stronger than anyone, I couldn't find my destined mate, so I settled for the strongest. You are half Senju. You didn't even know that, did you? No, the Kikbi sensed and informed me of your lineage, I only agreed for my children's sake. You never even had sex with me. She cackled madly before continuing. It was simple to get pregnant, all I had to do was use my Sharingan to put you in, then erase the memory of my Sharingan and implant false memories if you broke free. Though you never thought to break out because they were used for pleasure and you didn't suspect anything. Afterwards I got your semen sample and was artificially inseminated. That's it. Mito-sama told me about Konoha's plan regarding me so I played along. She finished cackling madly, as if insane. Minato shook with rage, he'd been outplayed and he never even got laid to the whirlpool bitch, she was a fine piece of ass too. But how Mito bitch found out about that plan? How do you possess the Sharingan? He questioned. There weren't any rogue Uchiha. That's right. I am Kushina Uzumaki Uchiha. The granddaughter of Uchiha Madara and Uzumaki Kasumi. Kushina shouted. Minato looks shocked, then scared. Uchiha Madara breathes heavily. He quickly tells the Shinigami to split the Kyuubi's chakra into yin and yang, he seals the yin half into himself. Or he thought so. Damn you, cursed Yondaime. Kyuubi shouts with hatred. Kushina's chains weakened due to losing more chakra with the use of the Mangekyou Sharingan. Minato notices the chains weakening. Damn it, useless bitch. He thought. The Kyuubi takes a chance and tries to stab Naruto in order to not to be sealed inside a human anymore. Minato and Kushina appear and block the claw from reaching baby Naruto, it pierces them through the stomach however. Minato smirks and looks at Kushina. Huh, looks like I won. He states smugly. Fuchius no Jutsu. He yells. Kyuubi and Yondaime, what the hell happened to you? The little toad yells in question, shocked. Amatora, I'm entrusting you with the key of the seals. Please hurry to Jiraiya-sensei and store yourself within him. Ordered Minato. I see Minato making new weapons for the village by going through with his plan and saving the village. Hiruzen thinks that their plan is successful. Got it. Replies Gamatora. Now that the Shiki Fujin and first half is sealed, all I have to do is repeat the Haki no Fukin Shiki and seal some of Kushina's and my chakra. I don't want Kushina trying to corrupt the weapon, but he'll be too loyal by then and he'll need her to help control the fox, Minato thought. I don't have much time for Naruto, I just want you to follow this advice. Don't be fussy eaters, eat lots of vegetables and become big and strong by Sachi, take your bath every day and go to bed early and sleep well, try to make some friends, it doesn't matter how many, just make sure they are your real friends, people you can trust. Even a few is enough. Study your ninjutsu, I was never very good at it, maybe you will be. Everyone has things they are good at and things they're not, don't feel bad if you can't do it at all. Make sure you listen to the academy teachers, but only the ones you trust. And remember the 3 shinobi vices. Don't borrow money if you can help it, save what you earn from missions, no alcohol until you're 20, and don't drink too much if it'll ruin your body. Naruto, you're going to experience a lot of pain and suffering. Always stay strong and show those bastards the true meaning of pain who hurt you. Thus don't forget who you are and find a dream, a goal, and don't stop until you achieve it. And live like a true Uzumaki. Sniff, there is so much more. Sniff it, I want to teach you. Sniff, but just remember that I will always stay with you and I will always love you, no matter what you do. Kushina finished saying, with a smile on her face. You bitch. You took all of my time. Minato yells in anger. He continues. Naruto doesn't listen to your motor mouth mother, you're a weapon, you have no fear, always follow the orders and show your enemies pain and always protect your village no matter what. Haki no Fukin Shiki. Inside the seal, that was the last thing the Kyuubi no Yoko heard before he was sucked into the seal made up entirely by the Shinigami's power. As it shook off its dazed state, being converted into wisps of energy and then into its original form would do that to someone, Kurama took in its surroundings. It was now standing on a complete white plain, which was to be expected. It was now sealed inside a newborn and they didn't think much. It also growled when it noticed that because of that, a collar around its neck represented the seal. How annoying. Only dogs wore collars. And it was a goddamn fox capable of incomprehensible destruction. Thankfully, it was not split in half like that bastard Yondaime had planned to do so. Speaking of that, Kyuubi watched with gleeful eyes as Yondaime's body skidded into a halt after he was kicked painfully in the stomach. The blonde-haired man looked up and his eyes widened when he saw Kyuubi staring down at him with a wicked smirk. His eyes widened even more when he felt that Kyuubi was not split in half like it was supposed to. What the hell is happening? Why are you complete and why am I not in the afterlife? Asked Minato, distressed. His stomach had butterflies as he thought of his plan being jeopardized, but that was impossible. You aren't in the afterlife for the same reason I am not in the Shinigami's stomach, you asshole. Shouted a female voice from behind him. Minato turned around with widened eyes to see Kushina glaring at him with so much hate it made him flinch. What? Did you? Minato trailed off as he realized the impossibility of his words. Kushina couldn't have known. It was impossible. All his notes on his plan and course of action were tightly sealed in. Oh shit. Kushina snarled at Minato. Know about the plan of sealing half of Kyuubi inside Naruto, the other half inside of you using the Shiki Fujin and me as the sacrifice and then turn my son into a weapon. Know that both Hiruzen, Danzo, and Jiraiya are also supporting this plan. Yes. I know. Here she chuckled mirthlessly. You were so stupid. First off you wrote what you planned and secondly, you thought that seals were enough to guard them. So stupid, said Kushina, shaking her head in disappointment. She wasn't only disappointed in Minato, she was also disappointed in herself. She should have seen this coming now that she thought about it. Minato always did everything with a reason. He never acted on instinct or on a whim. Every move he did was with purpose, and he expected results from everything he did. Why would making her, the Jinchuriki of the strongest beast, fall in love with him, getting married, and having a child was to be any different? It was now Minato who glared at Kushina. You stupid and useless whore. He shouted at her, but Kushina merely blinked blankly at him. Do you know what you've done? Minato was so enraged he couldn't form words. Kushina shrugged her shoulders uncaringly. I used the Shiki Fujin to seal Kyuubi inside of Naruto, offering the Shinigami 99% of your soul and 1% of mine as payment. And most of the Uzumaki seals I thought were fake or wrong. Kushina glared. I will not let this village use my son as it sees fit. I will stay by his side no matter what. Family comes first. Always, declared Kushina with a sense of finality. Minato laughed mockingly and in anger. You stupid bitch. You're sealed inside of Naruto just as much as I am. How are you going to stay by his side, huh? The smile Kushina gave him absolutely terrified him more than the glares she had been directing at him. Being sealed inside Naruto was part of the plan since I can do what I need to do uninterrupted. Minato could only widen his eyes when two golden chains of materialized energy emerged from Kushina's open palms. One pierced his forehead and extracted wide ethereal energy that Kushina absorbed with a shudder. She then channeled Kickbees through the other chain and wrapped it around Minato, who began to scream in pain as his soul was destroyed. He glared at Kushina with widened eyes. You think this is over, you bitch? Hiruzen, Danzo, and Jiraiya-sensei will see that Naruto becomes the weapon Konoha needs to assure its supremacy over the other nations. Minato's deranged laughter echoed until he was no more. Kushina merely shook her head. I'm counting on it, she said to herself before turning towards the Kickbee who was staring intently at her with that same smirk on its face. Was that enough proof that I was being serious about my proposal? Kickbee chuckled. Indeed it was. I admit that it surprised me to see you act so ruthlessly, but I guess a mother would do anything for her child. Kickbee chuckled once again in amusement. Kushina's lips twitched upward. We the Uzumaki put family above anything else, and knowing what Konoha did to us, to my family, and then knowing what Minato was planning for my child, is enough to change someone in my situation. And Mito-sama predicted this and told me about it, so it should be of no surprise. Kickbee's eyes twitched as Kushina mentioned Mito's name. Do we need to do the other thing about that woman? I don't like her that much. Well, Kickbee's voice held annoyance. Kushina noted how nervous it was when it talked about Mito, and she couldn't blame the beast. Mito was quite scared when the situation demanded it. Kushina nodded her head tightly. Yes, we do. And we need to prepare Naruto for the times to come. I trust that you have already begun to modify his body, right? Kushina raised an eyebrow when Kickbee shook his head. I was waiting for you to be fully assimilated into the seal, so he also got the special chakra from you. I don't know if it would also manifest like chains, but it would be able to subdue the other Biju, and it would make it easier for him to use my chakra when he is ready, and I am also working on his and Na, so he can get bloodlines of both clans. Explained Kickbee before it concentrated and sent a shockwave of diluted red energy through the mindscape. Kickbee then began to pulse before more shockwaves began to originate from it regularly, each one more consistent than the other until it stopped completely. Done. Kushina nodded her head. Good. Now I'll go to assimilate Minato's knowledge so I could use it to train Naruto. He was a despicable human being, yes, but his skills were only second to the likes of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. Kickbee scoffed as it got in a comfortable position so its head rested on top of its crossed paws. You worded that right. Skills not power. Only the sage and his sons were above those two monsters. Kickbee stopped and then looked around for a minute before chuckling. But I guess Naruto would be the only one to surpass those two if everything goes as planned. Kushina nodded her head and got in a lotus position to help her concentrate on what memories from Minato she needed, mainly the Rasengan, the Hiraishin, and his methods of training his body. If everything goes as planned, the Uzumaki will rise again to power, and my precious son will stand at the peak of humanity, she declared softly, but with so much conviction that Kickbee believed her words to be true, even if they had not happened yet. And my siblings, and I will stand by his side. That's what you and Mito promised, reminded Kickbee with hope in its voice, as it felt Naruto's chakra absorbing nature's chakra, which was flowing and merging to Naruto's chakra naturally. Now it was sure what Mito said was true. Naruto was the child the sage kept talking about in his dreams. It was when the sage dreamed that his visions of the future took place. You better believe it, Kyuubi. Kushina opened her eyes and smiled at the nine-tailed fox. We of the Uzumaki clan never go back on our words. Kurama returned the smile with a true one of its own. Call me Kiyomi. That's my real name. Kushina's smile only sinks what Kiyomi said. So, naturally she exclaimed, you're a female. Meanwhile in council chamber, already in the chambers were the members of all three of the councils, shinobi, civilians, and his advisors, the elders, Hamura, Kaharu, and Danzo. From the civilian side, well he honestly couldn't be bothered remembering their names, they would just waste his time. From the shinobi council were Shibi Abiram, Fugaku Uchiha, Shikaku Nara, Inoichi Yamanaka, Chauza Akimichi, Murakumo Kurama, and vacant spots for the Senju and Uzumaki clans. He sighed as he placed Naruto into the crib, he figured this would be a long evening. Sandame-sama, what happened to Yandame-sama? Inoichi questioned, looking around for Minato. Well Inoichi, seeing as he's not here I'm assuming something troublesome has happened to him, isn't that why you've called us here, Sandame-sama? Stated Shikaku as he focused his attention from Inoichi to Hiruzen. Nothing ever gets past you, does it Shikaku? Hi you're right, something has happened to Minato. Hiruzen answered. As soon as he said that, as he predicted there were shouts coming from all of the directions of the council chambers, Hiruzen just rubbed his temples in irritation and sighed. He was right, this was going to be a long night. Silence. He ordered and then spoke calmly. If you would just allow me a moment to tell you what has happened, we can deal with any issues at hand and get back to our homes and families quicker. As I'm sure all of you know by now the Kyuubi has attacked the village, there have been numerous casualties. It just appeared out of nowhere. He paused to take a breath. Anyway, once the Kyuubi arrived near the village numerous shinobi held the beast off until Minato arrived for battle. When he arrived, Kyuubi was about to release luckily Minato himself, the beast, and its attack outside the walls of the village. After that he proceeded to grab an orphan that was just born tonight in order to seal the Kyuubi into him, which cost him his life, it is called the Shiki Fujin. The reason it cost him his life is because he summoned the Shinigami. Using this seal he sealed the Kyuubi into this child here, Uzumaki Naruto he declared, as he held the red-haired boy up to them, after that he gently placed him back after a moment. Come on please hate him so I can more easily mold him into a weapon by comforting him, by manipulating him to prove you all wrong by becoming a shinobi. He mused rather darkly, waiting for their reactions. 3, 2, 1 he mentally counted down. Just as he predicted the chambers exploded in uproar mainly from the civilian side, there were many calls of kill the demon. Or finish what Yandame-sama started. Inwardly Hiruzen was cheering, on the outside, though he had a barely visible smirk, having enough of the noise he raised some killing intent, and bellowed. Enough you fools. This child is not a demon. Minato wanted you to see them as heroes. Another round of outrage was met with that statement. He sighed. Fine, I'll have to make some rules that will be followed, am I clear? He asked again, influenced by some killing intent. Hi Sandame-sama. Hiruzen sighed. Good. He cleared his throat. Now no one can speak about who the Kyuubi is sealed into in public or to the younger generation. The official story is that Minato sacrificed his life in order to kill the Kyuubi. You are not to harm the child in any way. These are S-rank laws and secrets anyone who is foolish enough to do so will be punished with death, does everyone understand? It was met with another round of outrage. Enough. Hiruzen bellowed with killing intent. I asked if everyone understood. Hi Sandame-sama was quickly choreographed throughout the room. Hiruzen Danzo exclaimed, getting his attention. I think the boy should be put under me, so I can mold him into the perfect weapon for the village. Danzo proclaimed proudly. No Danzo, this child will not become a weapon, he is just a child, nothing more, and don't you forget that. Do I make myself clear? He spoke calmly, leaking a bit of killing intent. DCH fine, hi Hiruzen. All the while Sarutobi was thinking completely differently. Well playing with an old friend. He will become the weapon eventually. Kukuku. Alright, I will place the children in the orphanage now. This meeting is dismissed. Hiruzen then got up and proceeded to take Naruto to the orphanage. At least I won't have to do paperwork tonight, yes. He declared proudly in his head. He just dropped Naruto off at the orphanage, with words to the matron that if anything harmful happened to him, there would be trouble, not that he would actually do anything, but people didn't need to know that, after all he had his nice and kind old man face to keep up. Now he was on his way home when a rude ambu landed in front of him. Sandame-sama, Danzo-sama would like to have a brief meeting about the Jinchuriki. The rude operative stated in a monotone voice, devoid of emotions. Hiruzen nodded, expecting this from Danzo, but replied politely. Yes, I was expecting as much to tell him we'll meet in my office. I'll be there in a few minutes. The rude soldier nodded. Hi Sandame-sama, Danzo-sama will be waiting. With that, the operative left to inform Danzo. Hiruzen continued on his trek to the Hokage Tower, opting to walk and enjoy the peace instead of using the Shunshin no Jutsu. Hokage Tower 5 minutes later, upon arrival Danzo was already seated in the office opposite the desk, calmly on some tea. He turned and faced his longtime friend and rival. "Tea, Hiruzen?" he offered. "It'll be calming after the events of the Kikbi's attack." Hiruzen simply nodded and moved to sit in the chair behind his desk. He took a sip of his tea and decided to get things started. Danzo looked a bit puzzled and voiced his opinion. "Why can't I have him from the start? And make him loyal and strong, as planned?" Hiruzen shook his head. "I want him to still retain emotions like Minato planned so he can use Kikbi's chakra, but have him loyal to the village of his own free will. Set him with an impossible goal, like becoming Hokage. I will play the loving grandfather figure and manipulate him into wanting no desire to become Hokage to gain acknowledgement of the villagers. I will do this instead of Minato. This will never happen, of course. He will remain loyal to Konoha through this though. He'll be strictly loyal to the Hokage if everyone hates him except myself. Then at an appropriate age we will train him to become the weapon they were meant to be. All according to Minato's plan." Danzo nodded, liking the idea so far. He wouldn't have them, but they would be loyal weapons for Konoha. "Are you sure the council will tell the rest of the village about his status?" Danzo asked. "Yes, someone will, if not now then in future. It is inevitable after all. That is the reason I revealed that he is a Jinchuriki. You really are the best manipulator, aren't you? You've been manipulating the council for years." Hiruzen nodded, chuckling a bit. "Yes, I have, Danzo, I have." Danzo nodded in full agreement. "Very well then, good night, Hiruzen." He nodded. "Good night as well, Danzo. I look forward to seeing how our weapons development goes." But that said, they both went their separate ways, having thoughts about how the plan would carry out in some years' time. Konoha was safe, it would stay strong. Tonight was a good night, bar the attack and loss of some shinobi. 6 years later, why do they hate Sarutobi-san? Hiruzen Sarutobi looked down at the 6-year-old kid that asked him a question that was out of place for a kid that age. The boy had icy blue eyes and shaggy red hair that covered his left eye and reached the nape of his neck. You may be wondering why this 6-year-old boy is asking such a question. Because due to his condition he is hated in the village. At 4 years old he was kicked out of an orphanage where he lived on streets and ate thrown food or fruit he collected from the jungle for 6 months. Then he was given a rundown apartment and monthly stipend to buy food and necessary items where he is overcharged and sold expired stuff. He had no friends except some people who saved him from the mob. They were in the boy's apartment after their customary walks around the village, and it was all a plan to make Naruto loyal to him. It was so the boy would search for him for comfort until he became Naruto's confidant, and then he and Danzo would train Naruto to be Konoha's loyal guard dog. Or fox if they took into account the type of animal Naruto housed. Sarutobi put a hand on Naruto's head and ruffled his hair, but Naruto swatted his hand away with an annoyed grunt, amusing Sarutobi. "They don't hate you, Naruto-kun. What makes you think that?" Oh, the village hated the boy alright, but Sarutobi had to put an act for him. Naruto gave the Hokage an incredulous look. "Didn't you see the looks they sent my way? And they only looked at me like that because you were with me and they respect you for being the Hokage. Normally they would curse me out and throw things at me and laugh when they hit me. I am surprised they haven't mobbed me already." Sarutobi kept a calm visage. "Well, you do tend to prank them once in a while." Sarutobi trailed off, keeping his oblivious act. Naruto crossed his arms over his chest. "I prank them because of the way they treat me, and I cannot do much more since I am not a shinobi," muttered Naruto with a scowl on his face that momentarily caused Sarutobi to feel a bit uncomfortable, but he shook it off. It was now time to bring Naruto into the right path. But that is no way to prove them wrong, Naruto-kun. By doing pranks to them you are just giving them more reason to treat you the way they do. You have to give them a reason not to hate you. If you do that, I am sure that they will look at you and treat you differently." Sarutobi smirked inwardly when Naruto looked at him with interest. "How can I do that?" Sarutobi shrugged. "You could always help the villagers with their chores instead of pranking them. Prove them that you are just a good kid that worries about his village and the people in it." Sarutobi got a gleam in his eyes. "Or you can always become a shinobi of Konoha." Naruto perked up at that. He admired the shinobi since they were very powerful and could do things no other human could do. That interested him. A shinobi. He looked at Sarutobi with slightly hopeful eyes. Sarutobi could feel the excitement going through his veins. Yes. A shinobi. They protect the village with their lives and everyone here respects them. Would you like to become a shinobi? Sarutobi asked kindly. Naruto nodded his head slowly. Yes. I would like to become one, but I don't have anyone to train me. Naruto muttered sadly. He knew that clan kids were already being trained to go to the academy in 4 years' time, and he thought that it was unfair. Sarutobi read Naruto like an open book and bent down to whisper so as not to be heard by anyone else. Tell you what Naruto-kun is. I look for someone that's willing to train you. Think if you really want to become a shinobi, and by the time you come to a decision, I'll already have someone to do it. Deal? Naruto thought about it and nodded. Deal. Sarutobi chuckled and with a satisfied air around him ruffled Naruto's hair and exited the apartment. Naruto watched him go with narrowed eyes. His conversation with the old man confused him more than it gave him answers. How was the leader of the village oblivious to how its occupants acted even when it was glaringly obvious? Why was he so adamant on protecting a village that only showed him hate and scorn? And why every time he asked about his parents the man evaded the question and changed topics? So much that Naruto got tired of asking that question since he knew that it would go unanswered. So many questions, and there was no one to answer them. Naruto hated unknowns. He wanted to know why the village hated him so as to come to a final decision if he wanted to become a shinobi or not. If it was for a good enough reason, like if his parents were despicable people who deflected the day he was born or were the cause of the Kyuubi attack, he would prove them wrong. But if it was for some stupid reason, like if they thought he was the Kyuubi reincarnated, it's plausible they'd go like this since he was born the same day the beast was attacked and subsequently killed, then he would plan and simple leave the village and go somewhere else so he could live a peaceful life without being hated by people he didn't even know. But how was he going to get his answers? I can give them to you. Naruto jerked and with wide eyes he looked around the living room of his admittedly nice apartment. At least the Hokage was kind enough to have him living in a place that was habitable. When he found nothing, he came to the conclusion that the voice came from within his mind. That was kind of cool even if he found it to be just as weird. The voice, distinctly female and somewhat familiar, giggled in amusement. Go to the Hokage monument and look for a black spiral mark on top of the first Hokage's head. All your questions will be answered. Make sure that no one follows you. It said before vanishing completely. Naruto knew he was not insane, and the voice on his head was familiar enough that he believed he had known, or at least heard, the one that was speaking. And they promised to answer all his questions, so with nothing better to do, and with the promise of not being kept in the dark no more, Naruto exited his apartment. The satisfied Hiruzen sat in his office going through some documents that detailed the economical situation of the village. As he read through them and approved or declined offers to benefit the village, Sarutobi couldn't help but think that his interaction with Naruto earlier had been very productive. He already began to install the desire to be recognized by the village and that the best way to do it was protecting by becoming a shinobi. Things were going just as planned. Sarutobi then looked up from his paper when he felt a presence arriving and he was not surprised to see that Danzo was standing in the middle of it. The man was Hiruzen's childhood friend and was just a little under Sandame's level of skill and power. It was the reason why the Nidaime chose him and not Danzo as the Hokage, much to Danzo's bitterness in the early days, but that was solved when Hiruzen proved himself to the man by doing what needed to be done for the sake of Konoha. Sarutobi greeted his old friend with a chuckle. What brings you here, old friend? Sarutobi knew why Danzo was here, it was the only thing they talked about nowadays, but he had to ask anyway. It riled up the other man and it amused Hiruzen. Danzo took a seat and merely frowned at Hiruzen's question. You know why I am here in Hiruzen, so stop fooling around Hiruzen, said Danzo. He is a man with a sense of a man that wanted to do something because he wanted and needed to do it to get it done with. He was weird like that. You shouldn't interrupt an old man's amusement. I am just as old as you. Which means that you should amuse yourself more often. Danzo just sighed in defeat and ignored Hiruzen's chuckles. The old man had not changed one bit, but he guessed it was his way of coping with the stuff he needed to do for the village and so as not to go insane like many shinobi before him. Nidaime was serious all the time, and look how he ended up. A cynical man that did not even trust his own shadow. How far have you progressed with the Jinchuriki? Is he loyal or to a fault already? Danzo asked bluntly. That was what he was interested in. His part in Minato's plan was to make the boy a weapon that only heeded orders. Sarutobi turned serious. Naruto doubts the villagers and the way they treat him. I don't know who leaked out the knowledge of him being the Jinchuriki, but it was a good thing Minato planned ahead in case of that happening. I already promised him that someone, which is you, will train him if he ever decides to be a shinobi for this village. Give me a few more months and he will be our loyal puppy that we will train to be Konoha's pet fox. Danzo nodded, pleased before he looked somewhat remorsefully at Minato's frame. It is a shame really that Minato couldn't be here to train the Jinchuriki. He would have taught him the Hiraishin and the Rasengan, but I guess we beggars can't be choosers. Danzo chuckled at the end, laughing at some kind of an internal joke. Hiruzen shook his head. Remember that we will use the Ito Tensei to bring Minato back so he could finish Naruto's preparations. He must have subjugated the other half of the Kyuubi by now, and it's waiting for us to revive him. With the power of the Kyuubi, an immortal body, and infinite chakra, Minato will rise to become the strongest Kage, and Konoha will stand at the top, declared Hiruzen strongly. Indeed. Danzo nodded before he recalled a situation that would probably make their plans fail if it went out of hand. What is the current status of the situation with the Uchiha? Hiruzen sighed and rubbed his temples. It's getting worse by the minute. Itachi reports that in their meetings the resentment towards the village is being expressed more, and with even more passion each time they hold one. I fear that if things go like this, and the village continues to suspect them of being behind the attack of the Kyuubi 6 years ago, then they would retaliate against it. Danzo rubbed his scarred chin. It is most likely that they will plan a coup. Would you need me to prepare some of my shinobi from now, so they stand a chance against the Uchiha when the time comes? Danzo knew many ways one could counter an Uchiha Sharingan, and since he had an army of shinobi at his beck and call, then he was prepared for anything the Uchiha could come up with. Hiruzen shook his head. It won't be necessary. If the worst comes, Itachi will take care of it, as there is no one more loyal to Konoha than him. Instead, prepare for Naruto's arrival because if he's anything like his father, he will become a strong shinobi and absorb the knowledge like a sponge," said Sarutobi with a confident smirk on his face. Danzo nodded and disappeared in a flicker of movement. Sarutobi for his part got comfortable and continued to work on his paperwork, and that made him sigh. He loved his village more than anyone else, but running it was a pain in the ass. But that didn't matter. He would do anything for it. Anything. It took Naruto the better part of 2 hours to make his way from his apartment to the monument unnoticed, but he managed to pull it off. He just needed to stay in the alleyways and avoid being seen by the civilians, and to the shinobi he was just another child, albeit one they knew housed the strongest of Biju, going through the village. As he stood up on top of Hashirama's head, Naruto looked down at the village, and while it housed a people that hated him, he couldn't help but admire its architectural aesthetic. According to the histories the Sandaime told him, it was constructed almost 100 years ago by the very man he was standing on. He couldn't fathom the kind of power one needed to possess to build a village from nothing, but Naruto found the possibility of having that kind of power very appealing to him. Remember why you are here. The voice chided him lightly, and Naruto, a little embarrassed, began to search for the black spiral mark. It took him a few minutes, but he eventually found it. It was smaller than his palm, and that said much by its size since Naruto was a 6-year-old kid. It made him think that it was done so, as that the only way for someone to find it was for him or her to be actively looking for it. Bite your finger until it bleeds, and run your blood across it. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the strange instruction, but complied nonetheless. He bit his finger and flinched when he managed to draw blood. He ran his bloody finger across the smooth surface of the spiral mark, a glaring contrast to the harsh one of the material that made up the head of the strongest Hokage. There was a puff of smoke that surprised Naruto, and when it cleared thanks to the wind, which also was ruffling Naruto's hair, a plain scroll was revealed. Take it with you into the forest behind the monument. Naruto picked up the scroll and ran towards the woods holding it tightly. He ran until the voice told him that it was enough and that he could stop. As he regained his breath, Naruto examined the scroll, holding it at eye level. It was the size of his forearm, and now that he could appreciate it, he noted the golden trims at its side and the red ribbon that tied it close. Now what? Open it. Shrugging his shoulders, Naruto untied the red ribbon and watched as the scroll unfolded. There was a bright light. Naruto fell to the floor unconscious. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto groaned and held his head as he woke up. His head was pulsing annoyingly and he felt a little dizzy as he stood up. Naruto took in a deep breath before looking around, and his eyes widened in surprise when he noticed the lush green field that extended to one side to a tree line with trees so big he couldn't even see the canopy, and to the other side there was a lake that extended to where his eyes could see. He took in the beautiful scenario, and that was when he noticed he was not alone wherever this place was. The first being he noticed was a thoroughly gigantic fox that had red-orange fur and sported 9 fluffy tails that were waving lazily behind it. The fox was looking at him with amused eyes, and a smirk settled on its mouth. Naruto also noted that the upper body of the fox was that of a human's, with opposable thumbs even. It suddenly waved merrily at him. Then he noticed a beautiful red-haired woman that was appraising him with sharp violet eyes. Her ornamental kimono didn't hide the well-developed curves she sported, and even accentuated them. Naruto paid attention to her face as she nodded her head and smiled at him with approval. His chakra is very similar to Hashirama's, and he certainly is handsome. He would do very, very well. The way she said that made Naruto nervous. Of course he is handsome. He is my Sachi after all. Naruto recognized the smug-sounding voice as the one that gave him the weird instructions, and he looked at every deed. She was just as beautiful as the first one, but her curves were more developed, or maybe it was the fact that her shorts and tank top were more revealing that he didn't know. What he did know was that this woman was looking at him with so much love that he thought only a mother could. "Ah-san?" Naruto asked uncertainty and with a hopeful tone. Kushina nodded her head happily and spread her arms wide as she kneeled with a smile on her face. "Yes, Naru-kun. My name is Kushina Uzumaki and I am your Kachan. Now come here and give me a hug," she said to him. Kiyomi and Mito watched as Naruto ran towards Kushina and the two embraced in a fierce hug and it brought a smile to their faces. Naruto for his part was happy that he finally met his mother and he knew she was his mother because the love she felt coming from her could only be described as the one of a mother her child. Her scent was also familiar and Naruto had flashes of memory about strands of her hair. This was his mother. He had a family. He tightened her hold against him. Kushina for her part couldn't be any happier. She finally reunited with her child after 8 years. She had been waiting until he became aware of the hate the village harbored towards him so she could reveal herself towards him and to make him aware of his purpose as a direct descendant of the Uzumaki. It may be a little manipulative of her part, but as a mother she needed to look out for her child's best interest. The mother and son duo ended their happy embrace and Naruto looked at her with a soft smile. "There is a lot of stuff I want to ask you about, Kachan. I don't even know where to start." Kushina ran her hands through her Sachi's hair and marveled at how soft it was before kissing his forehead. "And all of them will be answered by Naru-kun, but first you need to meet these two." Kushina motioned to the gigantic fox and the other red head and Naruto looked expectantly at them. Mito cleared her throat before smiling at Naruto. "My name is Mito Uzumaki and you could say that I am your great-grandaunt on Kushina-chan's side. It is a pleasure to finally meet the hope of our family." Naruto's eyes widened when she said she was his great-grandaunt. "What? Excuse me lady if I don't believe you to be my great-grandfather whatever you are, but you are too young and beautiful to be a granny." As he said this, Naruto was shaking his head in the negative and waving his arms around. Mito's smile widened as she got a gleam in her eyes. "A flatterer, huh? Very, very good indeed." Once again her tone and now the way she was looking at him made Naruto nervous. Kushina for her part giggled in amusement. "We got our work cut off already, don't you think Mito-sama?" Mito only giggled demurely behind the sleeve of her kimono. Kiyomi rolled her eyes at the woman and decided to save the kid from a more embarrassing situation. It was embarrassing enough the stuff Kushina told her what she and Mito expected Naruto to do in the event made the almighty Kikbi no Yoko to become embarrassed. "My name is Kiyomi and, as you probably figured out, I am the Kyuubi no Yoko that was sealed inside of you at birth. Sorry for that since I am why the village treats you so badly," said Kiyomi with remorse in her voice as she looked at Naruto with regret in her red-slitted eyes. Naruto stared at Kiyomi in the eye with a passive expression on his face. "Did you attack the village on your own volition, Kiyomi-san?" asked Naruto, surprising everyone there. Kushina tightened her hold around Naruto as she looked down at him. "Why do you ask about Naru-kun?" Naruto couldn't possibly know of the circumstances surrounding the attack, could he? Naruto looked her right in the eye and without hesitation, then responded, "I am not like the villagers' mom. I don't want to hate Kiyomi-san here just knowing what I heard about her being a beast that only destroyed stuff because she could, and now because she is sealed, whatever that means, inside of me. I want to have the full story." At his response Kiyomi's eyes widened before she looked to the sky and thought that this was indeed the boy the sage promised would bring the tailed beast together. Kushina could only hug Naruto tighter and look at him with pride and Mito was blushing profusely and held her cheek as she mumbled he's perfect like some kind of mantra. Kiyomi looked down at Naruto and shook his head. "No, I didn't watch Naruto. I was sealed inside Kushina when I was forcefully extracted from her, the task being easier due to her seal being weaker thanks to her having given birth to you. I was fully intending on leaving and enjoying my freedom after decades of imprisonment when I was possessed by a man wielding the Sharingan. He made me attack the village, but thankfully I was freed, but then the Yondaime attacked me and I retaliated on instinct. The man was planning to split me in half to seal a part of me inside of him and another one inside you and use your mother as a sacrifice to do so, but thankfully she already knew of his plans for you." Kiyomi sounded bitter as she explained what happened that night and nobody could blame me. Naruto looked at her mother with the same passive look on his face. "Why would the Yondaime want to seal half of Kiyomi-san inside of me?" he asked simply. Kushina sighed and got comfortable so she could explain. "The first thing you need to know is that the Yondaime, Minato Namikaze, is your father." Hearing this Naruto's eyes widened but they soon went back to passive look. He wanted to make a Jinchuriki of you and himself to give Konoha two powerful weapons. Himself as the Hokage and you as his loyal dog that would do everything he ordered it to do. Kushina growled slowly as she said the last part. "Hell shall not hath no fury like a mother witnessing her child in danger. It was a good thing Mito warned me about Konoha's plan regarding me and my child when she passed away and that I found notes of his plans for you. Thanks for watching my video, leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. And make sure to check out the author of this fanfic, link is in the description. See you next time, till then sayonara.